Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vacharam Pangam Langati Guru Yat Kripatam Ham Vande Shri Gurun Deenatayane. So we'll see verse number 12, chapter 8, attaining the Supreme. So Krishna is explaining how a person who is practicing Ashtanga Yoga can attain him by the yoga practice. Right? So yesterday's words we saw that the persons who are doing this yoga or who are known or who are knowers of Vedas and who renounce this world enter into Brahman, and for that they practice the celibacy. So now these two verses, next two verses, Krishna explains about the steps of the Ashtanga Yoga. So let us see this verse. Sarvadvarani samyamya
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
मनोरुद्धि निरुध्य च
मनोवृत्ति निरुध्य च
मूर्धानि आध्यात्मनः प्राणम्
आध्यात्मना प्राणम्
सितो योगधारणम्
आस्थितो योगधारणम्
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य
मनोरुद्धि निरुध्य च
मनोहृदि निरुध्य च
मूर्धनि आधायात्मनः प्राणम्
बुद्धनि आध्यात्मना प्राणम्
स्थितो योगधारणम्.
आस्थितो योगधारणाम्
Please chant.
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्धानि आध्यात्मना प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम्
सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनो हृदि निरुध्य च मूर्धनि आध्यात्मनः मनः परम् आशितो योगधरणम्.
Thank you very much. So, this translation and purport. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all doors of senses, and fixing the mind on the heart and the life hair at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Purport. To practice yoga as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahar, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the super soul in the heart and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the sixth chapter, this process is described in detail, but as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna how a person who is practicing yoga actually can attain the goal or the perfect goal. So here Krishna is explaining the steps, what steps need to be taken. So in Ashtanga Yoga, during the sixth chapter, we saw there are 8 steps. Sorry. So Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. This we saw in the sixth chapter. Little bit overview Krishna gave. And then the next four steps like pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi. These are the advanced stages. So before going to pratyahar, we have to make our body used to rules and regulations, and we used to sit and we practice pranayam. And after that stage, then once the yogi is expert or able to do the pranayam practice, then he has to stop all the engagement of the senses. So the eyes, ears, nose, touch, tongue, everything should be uh, controlled in such a way that they don't get entangled with the objects. And then only focus or concentration that we call dharana should be on the super soul. So Krishna says that stop all the sensual engagements, bring the prana between the or the top of the head. Uh, So this prana is a I have just I know I'm not expert in that, but I have read that prana is a life air on which actually the soul is in the prana, that air. So it's floating in that. So when the prana is taken upwards towards the Agni chakra and then towards the top chakra, then the yogi, this is what they do in Kundalini yoga. I have once a few friends, that's what they were telling, that this practice is to bring the life air from at the forehead and then to the top of the head, which is the topmost position, and then from top of the head there is hole or something from the skull, they release the life air. And if the Krishna tells in the next verse that if at that time the mind is focused and om is chanted, then it goes to the ultimate destination. So that's the uh, Ashtanga yoga practice that was done by the yogis in the previous or old times. I don't know. Maybe there are some yogis who still try to do these Ashtanga yoga practices in Himalayas. Or maybe other, but we don't know how many of them are perfected. But there are many institutes in, I heard in Rishikesh, where they are still teaching this Kundalini yoga and focusing and meditation. So that is also popular, I think, in all over the world. Because uh, the more we are externally focused on this bodily asanas and meditation, that attracts people. But the ultimate goal of this all the practice is to attain the supreme. It's not to become the healthy or good looking or flexible. It's not like that, right? So we can see here that the ultimate purpose is to be away from all the engagements of the senses. So so sayam is a control. It's everything is about the control. So this dwarani, so these senses are always explained as the doors, because the consciousness gets out from these things. So by eyes we see something, by ears we hear something, and then our consciousness goes there, and then we get attached or detached, or we try to raga and dvesha. So from that, so these doors, hence senses represent the doors through which our consciousness goes. So we have to close these doors and monobuddhi niruddhacha, and focusing completely on the super soul in the heart. So once I hope, I don't know, because once you do the pranayam practice and closing all the doors of the senses, and then you are just focusing inside, then you realize your soul. Then only you can focus on the Paramatma. So, so that's very higher level of realization, I think. But focusing the mind, when the external objects are closed, then the mind, the thoughts should subside, And then the mind can focus on the heart, where the soul and Atma, Paramatma is situated. And then the life air is taken to the top of the head. So this situation is called dharana, which is the next step of pratyahar. After that is dhyan and samadhi. So these are the final stages. So, but to go to those stages, before you have to fix on the mind on the heart, so that mind don't get running here and there and disturbing all the meditation. So we can see that this practice may require a lot of efforts, to shut down eyes, to shut down hearing. We should not hear anything, touch anything, test anything. It may require a lot of efforts and lot of control, very severe control it will require, because it's, we can understand that if we have to control our eating also on the fasting day, it's not so easy. We struggle. So this practice is done generally, we saw in the sixth chapter, in going into forest in a secluded place and preparing the asana. It requires a lot of self-discipline. That's why yama and niyama, a lot of self-discipline, lot of control is involved in this. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions, that that level of control and discipline may not be possible in this age of Kali Yuga, because we are, Bhagavatam says that we are always disturbed. In Kali Yuga, the people are always disturbed. So we may sometimes feel that we are in peace, but it's not like that. We are always disturbed by something or other. So the control of mind and shutting down all these sense objects and all, it's very challenging task. Some yogis may do it, but it will be very challenging task for a normal person. So Krishna explaining this for the yogi, but after from the verse 14, Krishna explains for the devotee. Because if this is the process of attaining the Supreme, then how it happens in the Bhakti Yoga? That also we should understand that, because all the practice of this Ashtanga Yoga is focusing the mind on the heart, and complete absorption, that is said as samadhi, right? Completely getting absorbed in the inside of the heart. So how this thing happens with the devotee, that we'll see in couple of verses from now. But at this stage, Krishna is explaining the process, because Krishna before only told that you focus on the Agnya Chakra and then you attain. But then now Krishna is giving the details how that can be done, because it's not only that we focus between the eyebrows, life hair, and then everything happens. No, for that we have to the yogi. We means the yogi has to stop all the external engagements and just focus inside, what's happening inside, and the life air and the soul and the super soul, nothing else. So Krishna is giving more details, you can say breakup of the steps to be taken. So these are the first steps: shutting down everything, focusing the mind on the heart, and life here at the top. So Krishna will tell about the next steps. So if we have come up to dharana, which is actually, dharana means concentration. So concentration of mind on the heart. So after that, there is dhyan and samadhi, the next two steps. So then on what we should do the dhyan, or meditation, and in which object we should absorb the mind and everything. So that Krishna will tell in the next verse. So we'll see the next verse. I think that will be the conclusion for the yoga person who is practicing yoga. So let's see the next two steps of Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyan and Samadhi, and how it helps the yogi to attain the ultimate goal of liberation, what we say. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Any comments, questions, reflections, anything? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So let us see tomorrow the next two steps and see if it's really possible in this time of Kaliba. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining and keeping this going. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you so much.
Krishna, thank you very much.